Welcome to worship with the Unitarian Universalist community of Charlotte. I'm Eve Stevens. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am, for another week, one of the ministers of this community. Don't get me started yet. We'll get into that next week. This is completely different. Oh, the struggles that matter, the personal and collective struggles that have the potential to bring about meaningful change, take time. Whether we're fighting for a new way of seeing ourselves or a new way of being in the world, we know if you're anything like me, that means making the same mistakes for years, but staying at it until we see glimmers of progress and we grow in our awareness, slowly dig ourselves out of our unhealthy, deeply ingrained patterns. And the same is true when we're fighting toward a new way of relating to one another, a new way of being in community, in society together. That doesn't come easy either. As the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. put it, change does not roll in on the wheels of inevitability. Just change comes through continuous struggle. But all of us, somewhere in the midst of a meaningful struggle, all of us have discovered at some point that it is possible to run out of gas, to find ourselves depleted, drained, and stuck, worn out and unable to contribute whatever brilliant or soft gifts we have to offer the world. The internal and external struggles that matter, that define who we are as individuals and as a community, are not going anywhere anytime soon. And so it's vital that we learn in our own ways to show ourselves kindness, learning to greet our bodies, minds, and souls with compassion. It's vital that we offer ourselves the love and the care that will sustain us for the long haul. As we prepare to sing, if you are joining us from home, I invite you to head to our public Facebook page and say hi to one another. And if you are here in the room, I invite you before we sing to get up and greet some of the people around you.
We light our chalice with these words from Judy Brown. What makes a fire burn is space between the logs, a breathing space. Too much of a good thing, too many logs packed in too tight can douse the flames almost as surely as a pail of water would. So building fires requires attention to the spaces in between, as much as the wood. A fire grows simply because the space is there, with openings in which the flame that knows just how it wants to burn can find its way. Good morning and welcome. First of all, I want to acknowledge what an honor it is to share this space today with our beloved minister, Eve Stevens, for this, her penultimate and poignant Sunday at the UUCC. And truthfully, I was just excited that I get to say penultimate. Twice. I am Michael Amy Lynn Rodriguez Sierra. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And my daughter, Tallulah, and I are members of this congregation. You can usually find me as an advisor with our high school youth on Sunday mornings. But over the years, I have served in multiple roles, including those on worship team, environmental justice, Green Sanctuary, and Lunar Rising. If you are with us today for the first time, watching from home or here in the sanctuary, welcome. We're grateful to have you here with us. If you'd like to learn more about how to get connected here, reach out to our Director of Member Relations, Kelly Greene. They're clapping because that's a new title. You can email Kelly at kelly@uuccharlotte.org. You can explore our website for information about our most recent programming, and if you're attending in person today, you can also explore the programming tables set up across the way here in Freeman Hall. Again, welcome. Our first reading is by activist, teacher, and author Bell Hooks from her book, Ain't I a Woman, Black Woman, and Feminism. When feminists acknowledge in one breath that Black women are victimized, and in the same breath emphasize their strength, they imply that though Black women are oppressed, they manage to circumvent the damaging impact of oppression by being strong. And that is simply not the case. Usually, when people talk about the strength of Black women, they are referring to the way in which they perceive Black women coping with oppression. They ignore the reality that to be strong in the face of oppression is not the same as overcoming oppression. That endurance is not to be confused with transformation.
One evening last summer, millions of people around the world were glued to their screens of various sizes to watch the Olympics. Most people, myself included, were particularly excited to watch the women's gymnastics finals. A 24-year-old woman from the United States was expected to win the gold medal for the US in the individual all-around competition. She had not lost that all-around competition since she was 16. But to the world's astonishment, Simone Biles, the limit-pushing, physics-bending world star, decided she would not compete in order to take care of her mental health. Gymnastics had taken a heavy toll on Biles, not only physically, and that was plenty, the sharp pain in most of her joints that she'd endured for years. It had taken its toll mentally and emotionally, too. She'd been thrown into the spotlight because of her amazing talent in the midst of a very tumultuous early childhood. On top of that, she's a Black gymnast in a vastly white sport with its own problematic history of treatment of Black athletes. And on top of all of that, USA Gymnastics, the sport, the institution that she had brought so much attention and praise and profit to, had willfully turned its head while she and other young women and girls were abused while in the quote-unquote care of the team doctor. When the time came to push through all the mental and physical trauma yet again, rise to the occasion, exceed expectations on the world stage, do us proud, take one for the team, Simone Biles said, "No, enough, I'm done." Spectators were shocked. The commentators were trying to figure out how to react in the moment. Had Simone Biles betrayed her teammates, violated her contract, walked away from her duty, failed her country? Or had she done something brave, something restorative, something life-giving? There are all kinds of layers to Biles' decision, of course. But one is that according to white, patriarchal, capitalist norms, it was against the rules. It's against the rules for Black women to choose their own well-being. By the standard of the dominant culture, Black women, Indigenous women, women of color are expected to take care of white people's needs first and to keep the wheels of the economy turning, whatever the personal cost. In 1988, activist and teacher Audre Lorde wrote a series of moving journal entries processing everything she was feeling after being diagnosed with liver cancer. Throughout those entries, Lorde compared her fight against cancer to her lifelong fight against racial oppression. Both forces denied the value of her life, and in their own way, both tried to kill her. Writing more recently, activist Ashley Marie Preston describes her experience of living in the world as a Black trans woman. She writes, "I try to imagine what it would be like to not spend every waking moment guarding your life. Picture a world," she says, "in which you weren't always pressured to explain or defend your identity, your humanity, or your right to hold space. What would it feel like," she wonders, "to experience deep intimacy without fear of your lover spilling your blood because they're incapable of spilling their truth about their attraction to trans women?" Both Audre Lorde and Ashley Marie Preston arrived at the same conclusion. One way of resisting the oppression they experienced daily was to prioritize their own well-being, to honor, to nurture your body, mind, and soul in a society that deems you expendable is a way of resisting, a way of turning the tables. As Audre Lorde put it, the world was not set up for her to survive, let alone thrive. So, she said, "Caring for myself is not self-indulgence. It is self-preservation. And that is an act of political warfare."
This is not the first time I have stood up here and invited y'all to join me on the roller coaster ride of the workings of my mind. So breathe in, breathe out. First, this reading. Those tears of a white woman who came to the group for women of color, only her grief cut us into guilt while we clutched the straw of this tiny square inch we have, which we need so desperately. When we need so much more, we talked her into leaving, which took 10 minutes of our precious 60. Those legion white lesbians whose feelings are hurt because we have a lesbians of color potluck once a month for 2 hours without them. Those tears of the straight woman because we kicked out her boyfriend at the lesbians only poetry reading where no microphone was provided and the room was much too small for all of us, shouting that we were imperialists. Though I had spent 8 minutes trying to explain to her that an oppressed people cannot oppress their oppressor. She ignored me, charged into the room, weeping and stomping, taking up 9 minutes of our precious tiny square inch. Ah, those tears, which could be jails, graves, rapists, thieves, thugs. Those tears which are so puffed up with inappropriate grief. Those women who are used to having their tears work rage at us when they don't. We are not real feminists, they say. We do not love women. And I yell back with a wet face, where are our jobs? Where are our apartments? Our voices in Parliament or Congress? Where is our safety from beatings, from murder? You cannot even respect us to allow us 60 uninterrupted minutes for ourselves. Your tears are chains. Feminism is the right of each woman to claim her own life, her own time, her own uninterrupted 60 hours, 60 days, 60 years, no matter how sensitive you are. If you are white, you are. No matter how sensitive you are. If you are a man, you are. We who are not allowed to speak have the right to define our terms, our turf. These facts are not debatable. Give us our inch, and we'll hand you a hanky. Deep breath. Self-care is deliberately taking care of your well-being through restorative activities and practices. Standing up here as a queer, non-Black woman of color and talking about self-care is certainly a slippery slope because of things I have come to know and believe deep in my soul. Granted, we all deserve self-care, period. Physical, psychological, emotional, relational, spiritual. And right now, I could teach y'all a meaningful self-care meditation practice. I mean, you'd have to pay me because I'm a woman of color. However, when feminist, womanist, Black, lesbian, mother, warrior, poet Audre Lorde wrote, "Caring for myself is not self-indulgence. It is self-preservation, and that is an act of political warfare." That is not for you. my beloved, largely white spiritual community. Co-opting self-care for buying bath bombs, candles, and sheet masks is cringy at best. But saying, my self-care is turning off the news, common advice, it's just not for white people witnessing secondhand the atrocities Black people have dealt with all their lives. Egregious for many reasons, especially considering that the concept of self-care as we celebrate it today was conceived largely by and for Black women in order to survive in a world that cares disproportionately about white health, and white self-care continues to be prioritized and centered. So I offer, why not practice self-care thoughtfully? Not only to take care of ourselves, but to better make space and support communities. Let's not use self-care as an excuse to tune out. The inherent discomfort of these conversations can feel like a lot, but that's the point. To tune out and step back is indicative of the very privilege that we should be putting to better use. One problem with self-care is it's largely focused on the individual. Nakita Valerio, a community organizer in New Zealand, defined community care as people leveraging their privilege to be there for one another in various ways. To ask ourselves, would some of the energy I'm spending on self-care be better spent on community care? Yes, self-care is about filling up your own cup so you can continue to pour from it. Just remember, the goal isn't to make yourself feel better and get rid of the feelings so you don't have to deal with them. It's to face them, unpack them, and use them to grow. Okay, deep breath, got through the hard part. The past few years have held a lot of personal challenges for me, and quite frankly, I have been failing miserably at self-care. I gained a lot of weight, I let go of the practices I know are imperative for supporting my health and sanity. Gardening, walking in nature, reading, cooking, yoga, even letting my long-time committed meditation practice slip away. March 2020, I received my massage license in the mail, finally legal in North Carolina. It's a long story. Alas, 2 weeks later, you know, the pandemic hit, and massage was clearly not an option for income. And so, desperation or serendipity brought me to facilitating a pod of kindergartners during the virtual school year to support myself and my daughter, which then led me to teaching preschool this year. And who knew that spending 5 days a week with 3- and 4-year-olds would be life-saving self-care, would heal my broken heart and soothe my sorrowful soul. The opportunity to see the world through their eyes, to be entrusted by their parents, most times their first time away from the folds of their families. It's another tricky thing, particularly as a woman, giving and caregiving as self-care, right? Of course, I still need to find my way back to the aforementioned practices. And it's no secret that teachers are notoriously underpaid, while all my students and families were vacationing at the beach in Costa Rica during spring break? Alas, not myself, not in my budget. But I digress. Back to the children. To experience their generous and pure love countless times a day, I love you, Miss Michael, and big whole body hugs. To see the world through their wide open eyes. We are silly and messy and have dance parties and catch worms and laugh. And I teach them songs from my childhood that come back to me, like, would you like to swing on a star, carry moonbeams home in a jar, and be better off where you are? Or would you rather be a mule? It's a gift to be teaching them, and thusly remind myself simple but profound lessons that they may carry here their entire lives. Who can touch our bodies, loving ourselves and standing up for ourselves? I invite you to repeat after me, if you like, the practice that we do in circle every day. I am brave.
I am brave.
I am strong.
I am strong.
I am smart.
I am smart.
I am wonderful.
I am wonderful.
I am kind.
I am kind.
I am thankful.
I am thankful.
I am peaceful.
I am peaceful.
I am loved.
I am loved.
And we are sharing and we're managing our big, big feelings and learning to take care of our own selves, even when we have a bad day. So with that, the child in all of you is in for a treat. I give you two beautiful and magical women who managed to manifest a miracle, the marvelous Mothership Preschool, during a pandemic. The co-directors, my best ever bosses, Liz and Holly, the Jolly Lollies.
Bosses. We feel like your peers.
Michael's our boss.
Yeah, she's such a gift to our community, and we invite you. We're going to sing a really silly song, and so just put your dignity aside, your ego aside. We would like you to participate with us in the song. There will be some times when we ask you to cry and to get silly with us, so please humor us. We usually do this for 3-year-olds. It's called Bad Days. I got in a lot of trouble today. I made way too many mistakes. Too many to even count. I'm feeling really down. So when I'm having a bad day, I have to go to my office sometimes, close the door. I sometimes call Holly, and we will sometimes have a really good cry together. So it's sometimes good to practice a cry, so if you all can cry with me. If you don't get that energy out, it just stays in your body, and it's really bad for you.
True story.
I will go and retrace all of my steps. Do my best to clean up all of my mess. Deep breath and count to 10. I'd like to start again. All right, here's your chance to participate again. Close your eyes with me. Pretend like there's a huge field of flowers, and I want you to pick a flower. I want you to bring it up to your nose and take a deep breath. Now pretend like your birthday cake is right in front of you and blow out the candles. Smell the flower. Blow out the candle. One more time, smell the flower.
And blow out the candle. Now let's all count to 10 together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's amazing. Holly,
Yes, Liz.
I need to know, when you're having like just a terrible, no good, bad day, what are some things that you do to help yourself feel better?
Sometimes I like to take a deep breath and count to 10.
Yeah, that felt good, didn't it?
Sometimes I like to get coffee with a friend,
Yeah.
take a walk, hug my dog. But you know what is one of my most favorite things to do?
What?
Get together with you, my best friend,
Yeah.
and sing
Yeah.
and make silly noises.
Oh my goodness. Do you think you all could help us make some silly noises?
Can you guys make silly noises? I don't know.
try.
Let's
Let's do
find
it.
out. Blah, 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 blah. Thank you for being patient with me. I am learning how to live and be free. Tough days can help me know that I can truly grow and rise above it all, even when I fall. Thank you. Thanks for being silly with us.
I feel so much better, and I'm feeling a lot, so thank you. Thank you. Whew. Teacher and author Elle is another wonderful human being to check out when you are looking for self-care practices. Elle didn't grow up ever hearing the term self-care. As a kid living in poverty, she watched the exhaustion that overtook the members of her family, working long hours for too little pay. The people in her life could not find time to take care of themselves. This troubled Elle deeply. The way she describes it, she watched her mother and grandmother take the weight of the world, so many people's struggles and worries, onto their shoulders and trudge forward, head down. Somewhere along the way, growing up, Elle started journaling. She wrote down what happened during the day and how she felt about it. She began paying attention to her own voice, believing her voice mattered. And when she felt sad or angry or lonely, she started pausing long enough to better understand what each feeling was trying to tell her, what her body or her mind was crying out for. What did she need more or less of in her life? Over a decade since starting journaling, Elle now guides thousands of people, including her mother and grandmother, through journaling practices that promote self-awareness and self-compassion. Elle believes that when we do not make time to rest or feel what we are feeling, our efforts to make the world more fair and kind feel much too heavy to carry forward. We burn out or give out before any real change within or around us can be realized. It's never going to be easy, Whether we have to affirm or honor our own worth in a society that tells us constantly we are worth very little, or if we need to hear difficult truths about our privilege that sting even when we know somewhere deep down they have the power to set us free. Self-care strengthens our compassion, the clarity of our vision, and the tenacity of our commitment. As Elle puts it, self-care as community care is filling up of self so that we can pour into others and not be depleted. It's reconnecting, she says, and realigning with the truest and best of ourself so that we can show up intentionally and make a difference. Blessed be. Please rise in body and or spirit. We are going to sing together again. So we mentioned this a bit at the beginning, but I want to clue you in case you didn't read the email or you're new to us and don't know what's going on. Those of you watching at home and in the room, I have a strong feeling most of you know who Kelly Greene is. She has been our membership coordinator for years and a member of our congregation before that. And she is known for going above and beyond to ensure people feel connected here and feel safe and welcome and are having a good time. So if you haven't met her yet, you will soon. If you did not see the email, Kelly, starting next week, is now going to be in a full-time position as our Director of Member Relations. And let's clap again. So if you see Kelly today, give her your congratulations. Together in community, we are sending care to one another. We're continuing to celebrate with Carol Hartley and Tom and Patrick and Sarah Cole upon Carol being named a UNCC Employee of the Year for her devotion to duty. No surprise there. We're also celebrating with Kate Stroud and her family upon Kate being inducted into the Counseling Honors Society at UNCC. So what So now let's take some of this good energy we feel in being together, bottle it up, and as you breathe, let's send it to those in our community who are in a time of deep struggle. We're sending our love to Dale and Kathy Allen and their family as they mourn the death of Dale's brother. We hold in our prayers Bob Atwood and his loved ones as he recovers from surgery. We hold in our hearts Annie Flint and her daughter as they recover from an illness. We are sending love to Megan and Greg Hendler, their son Oliver, and all of their family in this time of concern for the health of Megan and Greg's daughter and Oliver's sister, Kai. We hold in our prayers Sheila and Jim Lay and their family as they are mourning the death of Sheila's sister. We hold in our hearts Tom and Felicia Lee and their family as Tom continues to recover from a series of health challenges. We're sending love to Mary McNeil and her family as they mourn the death of Mary's sister. We continue to hold in our prayers Doug C. and June Blotnick and their family in this time of concern for Doug's health. We hold in our hearts Eddie and Nancy Walensky and their family as they mourn the death of Eddie's mom. In just a few moments after Michael's offering words, we'll be playing music and passing the offering baskets. During that time, member and guest alike, if you have a joy or sorrow or remembrance on your heart today, and you feel moved to come forward and light a candle, please do. Whatever you are carrying with you today, may you feel held by the love of this community.
From Thich Nhat Hanh, you are holding a cup of coffee when someone comes along and bumps into you, making you spill your coffee everywhere. Why did you spill the coffee? Well, because someone bumped into me, of course. Wrong answer. You spilled the coffee because there was coffee in your cup. Had there been tea in the cup, you would have spilled tea. Whatever is inside the cup is what will spill out. Therefore, when life comes along and shakes you, which will happen, whatever is inside you will come out. So we have to ask ourselves, what's in my cup? When life gets tough, what spills over? Joy, gratefulness, peace, and humility? Or anger, bitterness, harsh words? You choose. Today, may we work towards filling our cups with gratitude, forgiveness, joy, self-love, kindness, and abundance, so those may spill out. In celebration of Earth Day and the focus on environmental justice this month, our Share the Plate partner for April is Green Faith. Green Faith is a worldwide coalition that brings together people of faith and conscience to work toward climate and environmental justice. When you make a contribution to the physical or virtual offering basket, half of what we collect this month will go to Green Faith. We will now give and receive the offering.
Let's deepen our breath yet again. Get a little more comfortable wherever you are. You may wish to close your eyes For our meditation this morning, I offer you the words of Unitarian Universalist minister Teresa I. Soto. If you need to, you can wear soft clothes and focus on brushing your teeth and hydrating. You can ask yourself what you need and not be mad when you don't have an answer, only a shrug. You can breathe in, and then with care, you can also breathe out, taking the thing one single breath at a time. You can give yourself a chance. Remember not only your mistakes, but also all the ways that you matter. From eyelash to shoelace, you matter. You matter when you are sad, when the world is heavy like wet laundry dragging from your arms. You matter when you are angry and you use your teeth like welded prison bars to keep the words that might cause harm from escaping past your lips. If you need to, you can come heart wrapped in several layers of foil, mashed into a plastic box with an ill-fitting lid, to a place where people say your name like it is good news. You can always fight your way toward freedom. I recommend that you decline the option of struggling by yourself. Together, we can face the worst. Together, we may find that eventually all will be well. We're going to sing together one more time. Please rise in body and or spirit.
We are
The words of Angela Herrera. Don't leave your broken heart at the door. Bring it to the altar of life. Don't leave your anger behind. It has high standards and the world needs vision. Bring them with you. And your joy and your passion. Bring your loving and your courage and conviction. Bring your need for healing and your powers to heal. Please be seated.